Howdy, howdy. It is April 15th, a Wednesday at 8 p.m. I feel like I need to say that it's a Wednesday, even though the only people listening right now are the people watching the replay, because it's shelter in place and everyone's forgetting what day it is. Actually, my mom today, I was saying, hey, it's Wednesday. And she's like, whoa, it's Wednesday? She had no clue what day it was, hadn't crossed her mind. But yes, it's Wednesday. Today happens to be April 15th, which is the day taxes would have been due and people would have been lined up at the post office to make sure their taxes get postmarked on time. I remember there's one post office in Chicago that was open till midnight, and there was seriously a line of people in their cars waiting to be able to ship off their tax returns and get them postmarked by the 15th at like 7 o'clock p.m. There was still a line, right? And it kept going. I was at a friend's house. You could see the line until like, well, after 9. And who knows when it stopped? I went to sleep. No idea. That's not what we're having today. Today's a little bit different. And I'm going to talk about, today actually launches Business Week for MMDC, Managing Money During Crisis. Starting today through next Thursday, I'm going to have 7 very specific things for business owners, the self-employed, entrepreneurs, freelancers, basically anybody that's in charge of generating your own revenue, your own income. You can't rely on someone else to give you a salary or an hourly wage. You got to go out and find your business yourself. So if that's you, welcome. Glad you're here. If that's not you, plenty of what we talk about is going to apply to you as well. And maybe there's someone you know that you could share this video with and help encourage them during this time that's really, really important for businesses to feel some extra care, like we're caring for the frontline workers, right? The businesses that are taking a big hit, we want to care for them too. So thank you for the extra tips that you're giving to whoever, like I'm not getting them, but I know the difference that those kind of things make as someone who for over a year of my life, all I lived on were tips as a business owner. I actually didn't pay myself. Full confession here. All I lived on was the $1 to $2 per hour in tips that I got at the coffee shop we used to own. So I know like if they're employees, they have to be paid, but tip wages are a lot lower than regular wages. You get the deal. Thanks for tipping. If you've ever worked in food service, you know, thanks for tipping. But here's what we're really going to talk about today. How can my accounting help? Notice I didn't say accountant. Big hats off to all the accountants out there. I know you're doing terrific jobs. I believe you're doing terrific jobs for your clients. All the people I've been talking to are really talking about how much their accountants are stepping up and getting them the reports they need and the forms they need filled out and, you know, all those kind of things for the different loan applications and PPP and CARES and whatnot that they need, as well as helping them strategize how to get through this time. So big props to you accountants out there. Today, I want to talk to your clients or for you, for your own accounting practice, your business as an accountant, about some different things you might think about doing with your accounting with some of those reports that can help you now as well as in the future. Before we get to that, I've got a little fun quote today. Money changes people just as often as it changes hands. Al Batt. Now, I had no clue who Al Batt is, so I Googled him. I went to his website. He is a huge, like, really, really funny guy. I got to read you these 2 other quotes that I found in his ruminations on his website. He's got some articles, and in his article called Ruminations, these 2 are back to back, okay? The trouble is that most of us are willing to do the least we can instead of the most we can. Boom. What kind of knowledge, drop is that, Al, right? The trouble is that most of us are willing to do the least we can instead of the most we can. And then this one is even better than that. A wife who is too smart for her husband is likely smart enough to keep him from realizing that. And maybe vice versa, right? If Brandon's listening, he could tell you. The spouse that's smarter than the other spouse is probably making sure that other spouse doesn't know it. at least in the area that they're smarter. I'm not going to say anything more about that. Don't want to dig myself into a hole here in case Brandon ever does watch this. He could be totally watching now. But Al Blatt, hilarious. And this quote, money changes people just as often as it changes hands. And I think like the question that kind of comes from this is, how are you going to let it change you? The pursuit of money, the making sure you've got your bills paid, the pursuit of more money than you need to pay your bills. Is that even, is that good? Right? Capitalism would say that's good. All those kind of questions, like how are you going to let money change you? Are you going to let it make you a better person? Because money does change people. And as business people, we know that money changes hands way too easily, right? The people are spending, moving money here and there. And so if Al's quote here is correct, like we're changing just as much as money is changing hands and going from one person to another person. That's a pretty powerful image to try to imagine. But okay, let's get to how can my accounting help? Now, I want to share an idea with you that I heard very early on a few weeks ago. And I looked up the video that I heard this on originally, and it only has 200 views. So I know this tip is probably not getting out there nearly as much as it should. And the tip is this: go into your accounting software, go to your chart of accounts, and add a line that's for the coronavirus. Maybe you call it C19 or COVID-19 or Corona or whatever you want to call it, and put any expenses that are related to what we're going through into that line item in your chart of accounts. If you had to buy masks for your employees, if you need to do some extra training on how to work from home, if you needed to buy equipment, if you need to buy disinfecting wipes, whatever you had to do when this virus first started, through what you're continuing to do now and will do until all this wraps up, make sure you're putting that all into that line item on your chart of accounts. The reason this is because whatever government assistance you get, whatever maybe insurance money you get from loss of business, you'll be able to really show, here's exactly how you're impacted, all the extra money we had to spend. It'll be easier to show this is the lost revenue, right? Because you can just compare year over year what you've been doing potentially. And having that extra line that says, and here's all the expenses that were related specifically to coronavirus can be tremendously helpful. Plus, fast forward a year or 5 years or 10 years or however far into the future, if you end up selling your business or you're trying to qualify for a loan and they're looking back at your history, you can pull a different report called a recast that takes the blip that we're experiencing right now. Hopefully it feels like a blip in a year or 5 years or 10 years, and factors that out so that you can still get a really good price for your business, or you can qualify for that loan, or whatever kind of things that they'll be pulling financial reports for. So I think that's a tremendous tip. I don't think it's being talked about nearly enough. And that could be true for future crises that might be just for your business or just for your regional area, or things like that, that you create that line item of all the expenses related to cleaning up the flood in your business, or related to the tornado that happened, or related to the polar vortex that froze everybody in their homes, and maybe froze your pipes in your business or something like that too. If anytime your business goes through what is for sure a crisis that you weren't responsible for, that was all outside forces, you want to be able to show that when people are looking back at what happened to your business, and be able to show that in the moment to insurances and whatever else might be available to assist you. So that's a huge tip of how your accounting can help. You're hopefully doing some bookkeeping, you're putting your numbers in. This is just one change to make. Don't put those face masks that you bought just in supplies, put them in this line that says COVID-19. Okay, that was the main thing I want to talk about today. But there's also some really cool things you can do with your accounting that you've been doing. Now, I assume that you're actually doing accounting, right? You have a software, maybe something like QuickBooks, where you're tracking the money that comes in, the money that goes out, what it's going out for, who it came in from, all those things. And you literally have an accounting of the money that's gone into your hands and left your hands. If you're not doing that, your accounting can really help you. If you start doing that now, use this time to set up some good accounting practices and move forward with those as we're coming out of this crisis. That would be a great thing for you to do. But let's assume you've got those numbers and you're reviewing those numbers maybe with your helpful accountant and things are not looking that good and you're trying to see what can these numbers tell me about where I can move forward. And I've got 2 ideas for you today for how you can take the reports that you might be able to get from your accounting and use that accounting to guide the decisions you make in your business right here and now. And my first idea comes from a book called Profit First by Mike Michalowicz. Big fan. I use this system in my business, and I think it's fabulous. And on page 23 here, and by the way, it's an Audible book, so you can also get like the figures as a download on his website. But this figure 1 here on page 23 is called the survival trap. And it's got point A, crisis. This book was written, let me see what the copyright is. Copyright 2014 originally, and then recopyrighted in 2017. So well before coronavirus. And it has point A, crisis. I don't know if you can see that there. This way. Point A, crisis. Right there. Big and bold in the middle. And basically, he's showing in this figure that whenever a small business owner is experiencing crisis, they look for ways out of that crisis. And examples of how we normally get out of crisis, take an unfit project to cover this month's payroll, like do something that's not really aligned with your business to cover this month's payroll, and take a troublesome client for quick revenue and hope you won't regret serving them, right? Work with that guy that you hate working with. Offer a new product to make immediate revenue. Hey, we just launched blah, blah, blah. Let's make immediate revenue as quick as you can. Hire an expert to instantly expand your service offering. Hey, we've been doing blah, blah, blah. Let's add who's and what's it, and we'll do XYZ instead, or be able to add, this tangential thing. Run a last minute promotion to generate quick cash. Hey, we're having a sale. Come buy our stuff. It's on sale. And then do the work yourself because no one else can do it as well as you. Plus you'll save money, right? Work yourself behind the grill at the restaurant or answering the phone to take orders or what have you. Those are typical ways that business owners, entrepreneurs, freelancers, that we try to work our way out of crises. The alternate, see, he's got, gotta go this way. There we go. He's got all these arrows going to all those different ideas. But the big arrow going to the new place, point B, to vision. And that's when you look at your accounting, those P&L reports, the balance sheets, whatever you might be able to get to, the Excel sheets, if you're still on that. When you look at that, it might say, okay, you need to offer this, you need to come up with something new. You need to work with this client that you worked with a long time ago, but didn't really enjoy that experience. That kind of becomes, those other ideas become our natural place to go. And especially if we are getting loans and we're not feeling cash strapped, we'll take some of those easy outs. But the opportunity is to find a vision, a way forward that ultimately and fundamentally changes your business. And that could come from your accounting and the reports that you get from accounting, or it could come from pushing those aside and saying, what do I really want to do? Who do I really want to be in my business? So on and so forth. So think in terms of not just quick fixes, but what might be a source of new vision and new energy for my business that can move things forward. Kind of like, I don't know, it seems kind of hokey when I get like time out sent me a time in, and I'm like, I'm not even going to open this. That's like they're just looking to make some money and get some of the advertising dollars from whoever's in this email. Like that seems like trying to find an easy way out. Let me see if I can think of a good example. Actually, I know exactly what a organization in Central Ohio. I don't even remember the name of the organization right here off the top of my head. They help support social enterprises in Central Ohio and around the Columbus area. And they're always lending support, advice, wisdom to help them, balance mission and profitability and stuff like that. And they took that support that they're doing and they made a box where people like me could go online and order a box from 3 or 4 different social enterprises. And then that box would come and I'd get coffee that was roasted by people with disabilities. I'd get a candle made by people who were survivors of human trafficking. I also got some hot sauce. I don't even remember who made the hot sauce. I think it helps like feed people that are hungry. That to me is a vision, right? That they took this core thing that they're doing, supporting social enterprises through education and helping them write business plans and stuff like that. And they said, okay, how can we actually up our game to help them even more? And we'll become like their sales engine. We'll help generate revenue for them, not just support them in these not super, like these really important ways, but that aren't going to help them right now, right? And that to me is an example of vision. So, when you're looking at your accounting and you're thinking, what could I do? Don't get lost in the survival trap is what that all those other examples were. Look for the vision and the way to move forward that way. And if you don't have this book, recommend getting it, looking at how you might implement these accounting practices in here. They're not your generally accepted accounting principles. They are truly transformative and revolutionary for businesses all around the world. Again, Profit First, Mike Michalowicz. Now, my next example, I was really hoping I'd have time for this. I'm going to try to take this slow because it's really powerful. Comes from this book called 80/20 Sales and Marketing by Perry Marshall. If you go to perrymarshall.com, you can get it for a penny plus shipping. I don't work for Perry. I haven't talked to Perry in years, but I still have this book and I love it. And he's got this really great example in here. Now, I lived in Chicago for almost half my life. I'm not a Bears fan. The Bears have never been good while I'm there. But of course, Perry is from Chicago, so he uses the Bears as an example. Now, think to yourself, NFL, Chicago Bears, they are a business. They are probably going to go through a lot of what other businesses go through right now. But how has their business model potentially helped them be in a even better place for this crisis? And Perry's got this really cool example. And of course, he's writing this, I think back in like let's see when the copyright for this one is, 2013. So long time ago. And he does this interesting calculation using the 80/20 rule, Pareto's principle. And he takes one statistic about the Chicago Bears. That the average ticket, where is this? The average ticket for a Chicago, I think it's earlier. Okay. Oh, okay. You can get a single game ticket for the Chicago Bears for as little as $19. No idea if that's still true. I think they probably raised their prices, but back when he was writing, $19 per ticket. And of course, season tickets range from 1,000 to 10,000 for the best seats near the 50-yard line. So he takes that one number and he shows how the Chicago Bears make money off of probably around 10 million people per game. all the way from the 10 millionth customer who, or like person that helps them make money, who is maybe just hanging out at a restaurant or the game happens to be on, but because they see the commercials, the Chicago Bears get some of the ad revenue from the commercials, and because that person ends up being counted as having watched the commercials just because they're in that restaurant. The Chicago Bears are making money off of that person. All the way through, the people that are watching the game and actively watching every commercial, the people that like buy a Chicago Bears hat or jersey, they're making money off of those people, and to the people that actually go to the game, right? And he has this 80-20 graph there, nice big J curve going up from like the 10 millionth customer way over here to the number one customer. And what you'll notice, I got to take off my Post-it notes so I can get in really close here. What you'll notice at the top there, it never actually hits 1. Going the wrong way. There we go. Never hits 1. It gets exponential at that point. It basically means if you had an infinite amount of customers, your top customer would spend an infinite amount of money with you. Now, that's not true. There's no infinite number of customers. There's no infinite amount of money. But there are things that people get so passionate about. They're so interested in. They get obsessed that they'll gleefully spend irrational amounts of money for that thing. Now, I used to own a coffee shop. I know people who would spend irrational amounts of money on coffee and coffee-related paraphernalia like espresso machines and gadgets and t-shirts that talked about coffee and the finest coffee beans. They might even go on a trip to go visit where they grow coffee, right? Anytime you can find something that people get that passionate about, you've found a business. And chances are, Perry doesn't say this in the book, but what I infer from that is if you have a business, you probably have a passion for it. And you know other people have a passion for what that business does. Even if it's like picking up garbage off the street, right? People can get fanatic about that, right? Like OCD, they need their garbage cleaned up. Cleaning toilets. I've been seeing these commercials for like plumbers that I just have been like, that is so genius. You can tell they're passionate about what they do. So how does accounting play into this? Well, I literally did this back in the day. I took a list of our top customers. We had a membership program, and because of like sales tracking mechanisms within our point of sale system, our POS, literally it wasn't a POS. Anyway, that kind of, it was literally a point of sale system, and it would give me data of here's how much this person spends on average and how many times they come. And so then I could use that to rank people from who's spending the most money here to who's spending the least money here, at least with those core members, as well as, I could also see like these infrequent customers come once a year and spend $2, like whatever. They're like my 1,000th customer, 2,000th customer. We didn't have 1 million customers. But I started thinking, and this is what Perry invites you to think, you can look at those top 20% of customers in that point of sale service system or in your accounting software, and you can ask yourself or ask them even better, what would they spend irrationally on? What would they spend irrationally on? And like, not to like exploit them, but to help them like feel that passion and feel that joy by maybe spending a little extra right now. How could I give that to them? How could I bring that thing that would bring them a lot of joy to them right now? How could I clean their yard so well that they like sit back on their back porch and, just, right? How could I charge an extra service to make that happen if that's what I do, right? How could I sell the finest espresso machine to that few customers that I'm going to make more than I make off the bottom 20% of my customers that one purchase? That's the kind of thing when you look at and you're keeping good accounting records, you can pull that kind of data and start asking those kinds of questions. You better believe the Bears are thinking, the most fanatic fans of the Chicago Bears, how can we get them to spend more money? They're the ones that are going to spend thousands and thousands of dollars on box seats, even if they're not allowed to come to the game this year, right? They're going to be the ones that figure out some way to still be Chicago Bears fans. What does that look like for your business? Right? So I'm passionate about small businesses, especially local businesses that are owned within the community I live in. So you betcha that I tip extra when I go to those places. And I'd probably tip even more if there was like a call to do that, or, the business owners were telling me, here's what we're doing with your tips, or we're going to match your tips, or, we're going to do this or that. Like, that'd make me even more excited. And I'd probably tip even better, which is going to help with their employee retention and so on and so forth. Or I might just buy a t-shirt that says like, I shop small whenever I go there, or whatever it might be. I'm kind of just throwing ideas at you. And I just looked at the clock and it's 8:26. Let me take a deep breath. Whew. Before I wrap up here, don't forget, Brandon's going to get mad at me if I don't say this. If you're watching this on YouTube, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell so that you receive the notifications. We thank you so much for doing that. If you're watching this on Facebook, be sure you follow and like our page so you get notifications when we go live like this. Remember, this whole week, April 15th through April 21st, we're going to be doing Business Week, talking about things that apply to businesses. So please, if you own a business, you're an entrepreneur, you're self-employed, you're a freelancer, independent contractor, these videos are for you. And apply them in whatever ways that you can, and be creative in that. I want to recap what we talked about today so you can start developing what are your next actions. If you haven't yet, go into your chart of accounts or however you delineate, this expense goes there, this expense goes here, and put a COVID-19 or coronavirus or crisis or whatever you want to label it as, and put every expense related to this crisis in that line item so that you can do a recasting if you need to, or use that data for forgiveness for loans or whatever it could be. Insurance, so on and so forth. You'll have it. You'll be able to do what you need with it. And then start thinking of, when I look at the real data in my business, who is my revenue really coming from? Who are my top customers? What are the things that they're buying? What could I offer them that will bring more value and more joy to them and help my bottom line, right? Business is a transactional, it's a win-win kind of scenario. You're accounting what you see there, especially if you're tracking who's buying what and how much they're spending, can give you a really good indication on which way to go. So thank you, accountants, for helping us put together all the reports that we need in order to be able to do this. You are the business heroes right now, accountants. Thanks for all the forms that you're filling out and things that you're preparing so that we can make decisions in our business. And then bosses, right? Business owners, self-employed, you people, us, let's do good stuff with that data that they're giving us. So let's look for vision, not just quick fixes. Let's look for ways to bring more joy into people's lives during this time, which should make more money for us too, and not feel sad about it. I'm really proud of some of the people I've been hearing talking that this is not a time to stop selling. This is a time, if you can do business legally and safely, do business. We need small businesses to be doing business right now. That's really what's going to keep our economy going and keep people employed and keep bringing joy into the world. So thank you for what you do as a business owner, self-employed, entrepreneur, freelancer, independent contractor, whatever you call yourself. Thank you. And we actually, one last thing, you'll notice in the description, we've got a different link there, grandmaswealthwisdom.com/free. And we have a new Grandma's top tips for entrepreneurs and freelancers there that you can check out. Getting some of Grandma's top wisdom for us, the people that I'm talking to today, myself included. And we'll catch you tomorrow with another topic. Let me give you a quick sneak peek at what it is. To loan or not to loan. I've got some really interesting data to share. I've got like a bunch of copies and paste in my notes from a Forbes article, from another thing, research that was done. I'm looking forward to sharing that with you tomorrow, as well as more stories that hopefully brighten your day and bring you some hope. Keep building a smart, stable financial future for yourself. And don't let your business get in the way of that, but actually empower it. Peace.